Oh man, what a keynote. Hello guys, how are you today? My name is David Franco and welcome to my recap video for WWDC 2019. For those who have no idea what WWDC stands for, Worldwide Developers Conference. It's basically Apple's one time a year to bring developers together, literally from around the world. Like, it's a worldwide developers conference, WW, and they just go over the newest innovations with their own code, like Xcode and all that, Swift and whatever. Basically, this isn't a conference for people like you and me. That's really reserved for September or October when we see the new iPhones and whatever else they have planned. But today they did roll out plenty of new announcements that will pretty much pave the path moving forward for the next 12 months. So in a way, it is focused on consumers, but developers are first. Anyway, guys, I have a lot to talk about. I'm going to go through this list rather quickly. And guys, look at this. Look at this. This is insane. So I'm just going to go through this fast, and I'll share with you guys my thoughts. So first up, tvOS. I'm a huge fan of my Apple TV. I use it every single day. It's actually one of my most used devices in my house. Seriously, I use it that much. So this is obviously important to me. tvOS in the fall will be receiving a redesigned home screen, which looks nice. I don't know too much about it, but from what I saw from the single screenshot that Apple showed us, it looks nice. It looks clean. Multi-user support. This is a big deal for families. So basically, it's kind of like a computer. You're going to sign in with your information, and that Apple TV is going to be tailored to your interests, which is pretty nice. But to me, it's not really relevant because I live alone. But cool if you're into that kind of stuff. Control Center. They briefly mentioned Control Center. Now, Apple didn't talk about it too much, but it looks like Apple TV is gaining some kind of Control Center, which could be interesting. We are getting Apple Music support with lyrics. That's pretty cool. So think karaoke, but on your Apple TV. Now, this next bit of information is pretty big. The Apple TV is a game console. I mean, it is. It plays games. But up until, just now, we didn't really have support for major controllers. But, well, as of this moment moving forward, or at least in the fall when the update officially comes out for consumers, the Apple TV will officially support Xbox One controllers as well as PlayStation 4 controllers. This is a huge deal. Now, I don't use my Apple TV for gaming, but if I ever do want to use my Apple TV for gaming, I would much, much rather use an Xbox One controller, a DualShock 4, over some kind of third-party controller. Because I'm not a big third-party fan. I'm just not when it comes to controllers. So that's really neat and kind of a big deal, especially since Apple Arcade is just a few months away. And finally, we do get new screensavers on the Apple TV, or tvOS, I'm sorry. tvOS, including underwater. And I'm a big fan of the screensavers on the Apple TV. Really, I am. I mean, as honest as it sounds, the screensavers are quite honestly one of my favorite features about tvOS because they're just so damn beautiful. Hey, they're in 4K. I mean, come on, I'm kind of a pixel freak, so that stuff's important to me. So, they have it, tvOS. Let's talk about watchOS 6. We get new watch faces, audible chimes, we get new apps, audiobooks, voice memos. Yes, a dedicated voice memos app, so I can quickly record a voice memo, which is actually really neat. And finally, a native calculator app. It's actually kind of amusing that it took Apple this long to release a first-party calculator app. But hey, we're finally getting it, so that's really cool. We're also getting independent apps on the Apple Watch itself, meaning you don't have to have the iPhone app. For instance, right now, let me just pick an app randomly. I have, Swarm. The Swarm app I have on my watch, but I only have it on here because I have it on my iPhone. So now in theory, I believe if I'm correct, I can have it only on the watch without having it on my iPhone. That could be useful. You never know. And we also get a noise app which protects your hearing. So it can actually quite literally detect the audio around you. So if you're like in a construction site or a concert, it'll tell you, hey, this noise level is pretty dangerous. I mean, this isn't something we think about all the time, but our ears, are quite sensitive to everything around us every single day. And it's not something we think about that often. At least I don't. I know it's not all that exciting, but this is the kind of stuff that works into our daily lives that are definitely important for our health. We also get activity trends, which I guess just tracks your health and your activity rather on a day-to-day basis, because after all, it's good to know how much you're doing and how much you should be doing. Also, we get cycle tracking. That's a dedicated app that tracks your menstruation cycles. I mean, I actually need this. I bleed once a month, so I need this. This is really, really important. And finally, last but not least, it hurts to say this, we still don't get custom watch faces. Apple, please give us custom watch faces. There's always next year, right? There's always next year. How cool would it be to have like some kind of video game themed watch, or a watch face, sorry, like or a watch face themed after your favorite show? WatchOS 7, perhaps? But you know what, for now, not gonna complain. I'm not gonna complain. Overall, it seems like a solid update. Okay, iOS 13, this is the biggest list, so I'm just gonna read through this really quickly and give you some quick thoughts. 50% smaller app downloads, 60% smaller app updates. That's a win-win for everyone, guys. And yes, this means you can actually launch your apps up to 2 times faster now, which is pretty cool. Dark mode. Oh, I don't know who doesn't like dark mode, so there you go. It's there, and I cannot wait to use it. And I gotta say, I've actually been using dark mode on my Mac Pro, on Mac OS. It's really nice. So to have that experience on the iPhone and iPad will arguably be even nicer. We also get a quick path keyboard. We've technically had this for a few years now with third-party keyboards, which, by the way, still kind of shocks me that Apple allows that, because they're kind of a controlled walled garden. But hey, props to them. But now, at least in the fall, we'll officially have a quick swipe keyboard developed by Apple. And if you don't know what that is, that basically means that you can type just by swiping your finger. And it's actually really cool. It's really, really cool, and it can save you a ton of time and frustration, because let's face it, autocorrect, it's not always the best. We get a brand new Reminders app, which isn't a big deal to me, but hey, it's nice to have. All new Maps app with a beautiful street view that's better looking than Google. The way the animation zoomed down the street and turned to the store, you gotta watch the keynote to understand, was really, really impressive. Okay, so I love Google Maps. I love Street View. I don't know who doesn't, but I mean, I gotta say, judging from what Apple showed, this actually looks visually better than Google Maps. And of course, it goes without saying, this Maps app is installed by default on all iOS devices. So yeah, that's a huge win for Apple, and obviously a win for us consumers, because we get a better looking app that's already installed. We don't have to worry about any third-party alternatives. We will be getting support for HomeKit enabled routers. Not that important to me, but pretty cool. Messages, we get more emoji stickers and more customization. We do get extensive portrait lighting control now in the whole portrait mode, which is pretty cool. So basically, you can bring the light closer to you like this virtually, or further, which is actually a big deal. It's a little too far. The Photos app finally has a new editing interface. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. For years now, I've hated the UI when it comes to editing a photo using Apple's default Photos app. Yeah, I know it's not the worst. There are worse apps out there. There are worse interfaces out there, I should say. But the way Apple approached it for the past few years, it just really irked me. But I gotta say, judging from this new interface, it looks so much better, so much cleaner, and so much more intuitive. Thank you, Apple. I wonder why they did that. I wonder if there's other users out there like myself who have complained, or maybe people inside of Apple were like, you know what? We could do better. Either way, thank you. Video editing. Yes, you can now rotate your videos. I'm very curious if this has any effect on portrait video, trying to turn it into landscape, which isn't exactly easy to do because you'll be cropping a ton of information and zooming. So I don't know. We'll find out when it comes out, or if I get the beta. In July, I think the public seed comes out. And we also get filters and other video editing features. Of course, I'll talk about this later when I get my hands on it. AirPods can now read messages instantly. This is such a simple feature, but in my opinion, it's a huge feature. How many times have you had your AirPods in while mowing the lawn or going biking or whatever, and you get that ding, but you don't have your watch on for some reason, because I usually use my watch. But still, I mean, we all have those instances, don't we, where we can't use our hands for whatever reason. Well, now Siri by default will read your messages via the AirPods, and that's pretty cool. And of course, you can reply instantly. So again, a simple feature, but a huge feature. I love it. And we also have a handoff on the HomePod. I wonder how this works. From the picture they showed, it looks like you just hold your phone near the HomePod and maybe it'll automatically start playing, or do you physically have to tap a button on your phone's screen? That I'm curious about. That could be really, really interesting. And speaking of HomePod, the HomePod will now recognize you based on your voice, giving you your own personal experience, such as messages. And I'm pretty sure that's something most HomePod users have wanted since day one. Now, again, I live alone, so it's not a big deal to me. But for families, this will be nice. The CarPlay dashboard is a brand new feature in CarPlay. I don't have CarPlay, but I gotta say, it makes me want to get a new car in the somewhat near future for CarPlay alone. Now it seems like the dashboard will show you your maps, your messages, your music, and anything else you wanted to show, even your garage door opener if you have an app for that. So that's pretty cool. It looks like Apple's taking CarPlay seriously. And of course, I'm excited to see if it gets even better and better over the years. Oh, and by the way, my dad, he loves CarPlay. He absolutely loves it. And finally, we get a much better Siri voice. I'm telling you, judging from the demo they showed on stage, or actually played on stage, I should say, it sounded so much more natural. And now let's talk about iPad OS. Guys, I nearly cried. Seriously, the iPad, I love my iPad Pro. The iPad has needed its own OS for years. I mean, this is an amazing device. But still, sometimes it just feels like a blown up iPhone, at least when you're looking at the home screen. I mean, does it not? It's just a simple grid of icons. I mean, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's clean, it works, it's obviously worked all these years, but it could be a lot better. Now, when you swipe left, your widgets are gonna show up right here. You can have better multitasking support, meaning I can have 2 instances of the same app open at the same time. As simple as this sounds, this is a game changer, guys. I have had many moments where I need 2 Safari windows open, or 2 Notes windows open, or 2 Pages documents open side by side. And now with iOS 13, this is going to be possible. Finally. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I cannot wait to experiment with that. Also, we get new files features such as a column view, file sharing, and support for thumb drives, like USB drives and SD cards. You can now plug in your thumb drive. I've never used the word thumb drive, by the way. I like to say flash drive or USB drive. Anyway, you can plug in drives via USB, and now you can actually browse the files natively, as you would expect to on the computer, but on your iPad. That's huge. Safari now supports desktop default browsing by default. That's redundant. You guys know what I'm saying. It's all around good stuff. You also get a downloads manager and 30 new keyboard shortcuts. That I'm curious about. Supports for rich fonts. As a graphic designer, I love that. And finally, last but not least, this is the part that made me squeal like a pig on a fryer. It doesn't even, might make sense, I don't know. But guys, you see how excited I am right now? The Apple Pencil latency has been cut down from 20 milliseconds to 9 milliseconds. How did they cut off 11 milliseconds of latency using software? I always thought this was controlled by hardware, but apparently it's hardware and software when it comes to latency. I didn't know that. So that's really cool. I mean, 9 milliseconds of latency, and believe me, you will see the difference. I tend to have good eyesight when it comes to that sort of thing. Apple Pencil was already the fastest stylus on the market, but now it just got even faster. You know, as little as that feature is to most people, that's one of my favorite things that was announced today. Oh, and finally, we get better markup support across all devices on the iPad. So if you want to take a screenshot of an app, I think you do something from the bottom right corner, bottom left corner. I'm not totally sure. It basically, you know, has like a screenshot of the web browser or Notes app, whatever you're using at the moment, and you can mark it up with like comments, circles, all that stuff. Which I won't use that often, but hey, as a web designer, I might use it. Man, I'm just excited about the Apple Pencil latency in general. Whew, I need that in my life, like, right now. All right, let's talk about the Mac Pro. Hey, you, right back there. You're not going anywhere. I don't have that kind of money. More on that in a bit. Anyway, Apple did indeed announce a new Mac Pro today. This is a huge deal. Now, Apple a while ago announced that they were wrong. They actually announced that they were wrong. They said, hey, we messed up with the Mac Pro. We messed up. We tried something innovative, which it was. And it still is innovative. I mean, I love my Mac Pro. It performs just fine. But then again, I'm not MKBHD, Jonathan Morrison, or anyone like that. I'm actually more of a Twitch streamer nowadays than a video editor. But still, I mean, those moments where I do edit in here, it performs fine. I mean, I'm not that picky. It runs its 4K display beautifully. I love this 4K display from LG. You know what? I'll link that display right below if you want to buy it for yourself. It's actually not that expensive. But anyway, I'm very happy with this Mac Pro. But this new one looks insane. I cannot wait to see what professionals have to say about this. So anyway, it's an easy to open and customize and carry product design. Yes, it's much like the old Mac Pro, 2006 Mac Pro, which is actually right behind this camera. It's like the cheese grater design, but the holes are bigger, and I think, I don't know. I'm not crazy about the design, but I don't hate it either. It's just one of those things, I guess, that will either grow on me or I'll have to see in person. Anyway, it has handles. It's a lot like that Mac Pro. You can just slide off the top. You can easily replace parts on the fly. And that's what professionals have wanted for a while. I mean, hell, that's what people like me have wanted for a while. I mean, I miss the old Mac Pro design. And it's a real damn shame that I'm not going to be able to get my hands on the new Mac Pro. It's just too expensive for my needs. I just simply cannot afford that. And no, I'm not going to start another Indiegogo campaign. Those days are behind me. I don't need that kind of hate in my life right now. But of course, thank you to everybody who helped me with that years ago. I owe you my life. Okay, I'm not going to kill myself, don't worry. But I love you for that. Seriously, thank you. Thank you. Anyway, we have an Intel Xeon CPU supporting up to 28 cores. It's crazy. 6 channels of ECC memory maxing out at 1.5 terabytes of RAM. I have 16 gigs here and 32 gigs upstairs. I don't know what the hell I would do with 1.5 terabytes of RAM. That's insane, but I'm sure somebody out there can do something with that kind of power. I mean, I don't even want to think about what that's going to cost. 1.5 terabytes of RAM? We're talking thousands upon thousands of dollars. Cannot wait to customize that on Apple.com. Anyway, we get 8 PCI Express slots. See, this is what I'm talking about. Apple is back, guys. Apple is back. They are once again understanding the professionals out there. 8 PCI Express slots. Whereas with this Mac Pro, you are extremely, extremely limited. Hell, my old Mac Pro is more expandable than this Mac Pro. Just saying. Okay, but this is where things get a little weird. By default, you get 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports, 2 USB-A ports, and 2 Gigabit Ethernet ports. The Thunderbolt I understand, but 2 USB-A? Why not at least 4? Why not at least 4? I mean, that's just typical Apple for you. Like, they put out this super expensive, highly customizable product, yet by default, they give you 2 USB-A inputs. That just blows my mind. Yeah, I know. If you're spending that kind of money, putting a USB expansion card on there is no problem. You can get one for what? $30, $40? It's not a big deal. But it's the principle. It's just very, very odd. Apple did design a new card called the Afterburner. No. There are no cows involved. The Afterburner card. It's designed for video editors. Basically, I think it decodes your video much faster. That way you don't have to use proxy media. So in other words, you're going to be working more efficiently, faster, and blah, blah, blah. Working more, which is good. We get 3 massive fans on it, which are very quiet. And of course, all of this uses a thermal system. Apple loves their thermal systems, as do I. Just sounds cool. Optional wheels for mobility. The audience really loved this. I mean, hey, if you're in a workplace and you want to move around the Mac Pro with these, you can buy wheels and put them on the bottom. Not gonna lie, that's kind of cool. It starts with an 8-core Xeon processor, 32 gigs of RAM, and a Radeon Pro 580X. I may have typed that wrong. I'm not sure. Either way, it's powerful as hell. It's available in the fall for $6,000. What's that, David? $6,000! Moving on. Jesus. $6,000. $6,000? What the fuck? Language, David. Language. I'm sorry. I thought, no, come on. What is this? $6,000? I understand Apple's packing all this powerful shit in this small-ass box, but $6,000. They couldn't have done anything to default it to $3,000. I don't mind spending $3,000. That's fine. Like, boom, put it in there. But doubling the price of $6,000? It's that reason alone that I'm not going to get it, and that sucks. I hate when money holds you back from following your dreams. I'm not mad, I'm in shock right now. Jesus Christmas! Alright, let's talk about the Pro Display XDR. Cool ass name. 32-inch, 6K Retina display, amazing specs. P3 wide color, 16-bit, super wide viewing angle, anti-reflective coating, 1600 nits of brightness per peak, 1000 continuous, in other words, it's bright as hell. Incredibly accurate color, which is a big deal for me because I don't hate third-party displays. I love this display. I love my 3 Dell displays upstairs. They're incredible. But I hate color calibrating. I just hate it. It's a pain in the ass. And when you buy an Apple display for an Apple computer, they're essentially going to be working together. Now I'm all hyper because of that $6,000. Hey, at least the old David's back, right? The creative one is here, guys. He actually never went anywhere. It's all in your head. Anyway, we get extreme dynamic range. It's not high dynamic range, it's extreme dynamic range. Oh, and get this, the new Mac Pro can support up to 6 of these displays, giving you 120 million pixels. Could you imagine? Whew! I don't even want to think about what that costs. And the Pro Stand, which supports portrait mode and it's removable, I thought was included on the display by default, but nope. Apple, I love you. But oh my God, you should have heard. you should have heard the wait. I just didn't want the video cutting. You should have heard the gasp in the audience when they said that the Pro Stand by itself costs $999. I've never heard such a loud gasp during an Apple keynote before. It blew my mind, it blew their minds, and it even offset the keynote a little bit. I forget who was up on stage, maybe it was Craig, I don't know. But even they kind of stuttered in their speech when they gasped, were like, I don't think it was Craig, I forget his name. But, damn Apple. I mean, for a display, by the way, that costs $5,000 by default, you should include this stand. Now, things can change between now and fall, which is when all this comes out, by the way. But damn, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of... You know what, guys? I'm fine with this display. I don't always need to go the Apple route to be happy. Anyway, pricing aside, it's really... Seriously, guys, for a minute, it's really, really nice to see Apple back on the side of professionals. Now, obviously, I'm not professional enough for that kind of equipment. So in my eyes, I'm kind of a prosumer. That means I require more than the average consumer needs. I mean, obviously, I think I'm a pro user. The way I use shortcuts, the way I use apps and everything, I'm definitely not your typical user, but I'm not pro enough to warrant spending nearly what? Well, hold on. Let's do some quick math here. 6,000 and 5,000. That's $11,000 by default for the base Mac Pro and the base Extreme Dynamic Display, or Pro Display XDR. I'm going to have to get used to that. But again, it's a cool name. All right, let's talk about Mac OS Catalina. It's the fucking Catalina wine mixer. Damn, dude, damn. All right, we got an Apple Music app by itself. We got a podcast app by itself. We got an Apple TV app by itself. Yo, okay, so the funniest part about today's keynote was when they basically made fun of iTunes. They said, we're adding a calendar, we're adding email, we're adding a dock. People were cracking up. Like, I was legit laughing. I need water. Woo, a lot to talk about. Apple's basically ripping functionality, like, you know, features out of iTunes and putting them into their own app. Again, we're getting Apple Music, Podcast, and Apple TV as dedicated apps on the Mac, which is pretty cool. We also have something called Sidecar coming. Basically, you can use your iPad officially without third-party apps. You can use your iPad as a secondary display. I actually might use that because I still have my first generation iPad Pro, which I use all the time, mostly for podcasting. But if I could offset some of my palettes from Photoshop on there or whatever, it doesn't hurt. We have a voice control app on the Mac for those who are I don't like the word handicapped. Anyway, for those who require accessibility, basically. I just don't want to say anything wrong because I'm really PC with that sort of stuff, because I know a lot of people out there challenge with things that are easy for me and you. I mean, we quite literally take it for granted to get up and go to the bathroom. But there are so many people out there who are not able to do such simple tasks, you know, the way we do them anyway. So yes, I mean, Apple continues to excel in the accessibility department. Like, they have always been amazing at this. Like, they're so far and ahead of Windows, in my opinion, with this. So basically, you can completely control your Mac using just your voice. You can open apps, you can send messages, you can probably shut it down. I don't think you can turn it on. That would actually be pretty cool if the Mac was always listening and say Mac on, or I don't know. But hey, accessibility options just got so much better on Mac OS. Catalina. I love that name, by the way, Catalina. Also, we have the Find My app. It's simply called Find My. I like it. It's grammatically incomplete, but in a way, I like it, because Find My just means that you can locate your iPad, your iPhone, your iPod, your Mac, your AirPods. And guys, honestly, it's bothered me for years that Apple has called it Find My iPhone. I mean, why are you finding your iPad on an app called Find My iPhone? And I realize it's just a name, it's not a big deal. But the fact that they're consolidating everything into one app with a simple name such as Find My, hey, I like it. I'm on board. Also, we have an activation lock built into Mac OS Catalina, which is basically anti-thief. So if like someone steals your computer, I'm not sure how it works, but basically only you can unlock it, or you can lock it down or something like that. So in other words, your data will be protected no matter what. Oh, also, going back to the Find My app, you can now locate your devices offline. Even if your battery dies, it can ping locations on other Apple devices around it using Bluetooth, I believe, and it'll try to bring together the longitude and latitude. I'm not completely sure how it works, but from what I saw during the keynote, it looks impressive. But then again, I don't really lose my stuff, but obviously it's useful. And finally, ARKit, they showed us at the very end, it now supports inclusion of people. And I'm sure I'll talk about that in future videos. Boom. There you go, guys. Definitely an action-packed, feature-filled developers conference keynote. Like, really impressive. We didn't get custom watch faces. iPad OS isn't quite to the extent that I want it to be yet, but this looks like a good, solid start. I mean, the fact that the iPad finally has its own OS, that's a huge deal in itself. I mean, this could be like the stepping stones for something even bigger. Who knows, like even like a smaller software update around winter, next spring or whatever. Or who knows, I mean, maybe we'll see something even bigger this time next year. Okay, guys, what are your thoughts on WWDC 2019? Keep in mind, this is just the beginning. This is only the main keynote. I mean, this keynote is obviously intended for developers. So what we see moving forward could be some big stuff, especially with the new iPhone around the corner. I mean, we're going to get a new iPhone announcement in just a few months. Just a few months. Guys, thank you so much for watching. It's good to be back, and I'll see you very soon. Peace! I wish I had $6,000. That's right, I can't afford an assistant. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. If you want to continue to support my content, check out the links right below in the video description. There you can access over 200 exclusive vlogs. You can shop on Amazon and support me directly. And finally, you can get a steep discount on web hosting via Host Papa. I'll see you next time.